my pleasure to be with you all here in the great Northeastern Conference. I am glad to be here with you today and just want to spend a little time with you all. A couple of things we'll do. If you have a question or something, if you place it in the chat, I'll be able to see the chat. So if you place it there, then I can see those that we're doing. So I'm going to start off with this, and that is there something that you are trying to do that you haven't figured out how, or something you would like to do and you would like to know the best or the easiest way to do that? If you just kind of put that in the chat, or if you have any specific questions or something, put those in there, and we'll start working our way through those as well while we're doing our presentation today. As Janine told you, my name is Bryant Taylor, and I am just BT. I live at the intersection of media and ministry. My goal is to make everyone a digital disciple, and I love sharing the gospel of Jesus through ministry and through media and through some of those things. So for today, we want to look at a couple of things. Here's what we're going to do for today. Today, we want to look at simple setups for your studio in your home or your office or your church, wherever you might be. We want to look at 3 essentials for streaming. We want to answer the question, who and where your audience is. Who is your audience and where are they? And then we want to talk about how to reach your audience, and then we'll end up with some tips and some tools for reaching them and doing some things. So let's start off with 3 essentials for streaming. In streaming, there are 3 things that you have to have. They have to be right, and you have to do them well. The first one is video. Your video has to look good. In streaming, if your video does not look good, then you know what happens. People do not want to watch it, and they will move off and go someplace else to get their content and their information. That's just what they're going to do. The second essential is audio. If they don't hear you, if it's crackling, if it doesn't sound good, then they're going to move on to someplace else. They're just going to tune you out. The third one is lighting. You may look good, you may sound great, but if the lighting is off, if you're in the shadow, or if there's big, great lights behind you, it's going to turn them off and they're going to go on to something different. So those are the 3 things that are essential for streaming: good video, great audio, good lighting. And we'll talk about those 3 things today in various different ways, and talk about some of the technology and the equipment, the gadgets that you can get to do that, to make sure that your stream is going well, and some of the things. But we talked about this earlier, and I mentioned, and I said, we want to talk about who your audience is and where they are. I think it's important that we understand this, and that is we need to understand who the audience is. We are in a 21st century world. We have to all just admit that we're in a 21st century world. And in our 21st century world, we have some very interesting people. The one thing we need to understand as pastors and as ministry leaders is that our method is targeted to the church. It's targeted to the person who goes to church. They have some frame of reference about the church. Their mother took them to church. Their grandmother took them to church. Whatever, they went to Sabbath school, Sunday school, whatever it is. They have some frame of reference to the church. It's not to the unchurched. And yet our society has moved from the churched to the unchurched. And now we're in a time where it is the non-church. There are individuals who have no frame of reference whatsoever to the church. They never went to church. Their mother didn't take them to church. Their grandmother didn't take them to church. They don't know, they wouldn't know if Noah was in an ark or if he was in the belly of the whale. They have no frame of reference. And so our method is targeted toward the church, and we need to move to that new category of people that is not just the unchurched who used to go and stop, but is the non-church who has no frame of reference whatsoever to the church in itself. Here is one way that I kind of talk about that in our methods. And so when we look at it, our methods, we have a method that is the 9-inch black and white television. Now, you know, and I know, no one is going to watch anything on a 9-inch black and white television. They're just not going to do it. We're in a 4K, 6K, 8K, 12K world. Nobody's watching anything on a black and white television. And yet, our ministry methods sometimes appear to be just that, very outdated and very, very, very behind the times. When in fact, the world which we live in is this world right here. It's a computer, a tablet, a phone. That's the world that we live in. We live in this digital age, and everything is on a small screen. Very few, not very, wow, how do you say that? Very little content is received and delivered on a television. Most content today is received and delivered for this size screen. In fact, this is where your audience is. They're on a 4, 5, 6-inch screen. That's where content is received, on a 4, 5, 6-inch screen. That's where people are. That's how they receive their content. So today I just want to kind of talk just a little bit about something that's kind of interesting, and it's this simple thing that we all know. We always used to say, how do you eat an elephant? And that's the question. How do you eat an elephant? Somebody answer that for me. How do you eat an elephant? Put it in the chat. How do you eat an elephant? Let's see if anyone is with me today on this particular. There it is. Corinda hit it. Caps 9. Yes. Bite by bite, one bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant. Take any challenge that you have, any project that's happening, no matter how large it is, the tendency is to try to do it all at once. And we often fail and get frustrated and we burn out. So we have to begin to learn to do it one bite at a time, one step at a time. Here is where the majority of people that you meet and you have run into, here is where they are right here. They live their life on a screen. They are doing Zoom. They're doing any kind of contacts with people. Because of this pandemic, that's how they do family gatherings. They're on a screen. They're with them. Day after day after day after day after day, hour after hour, they find themselves in a meeting on Zoom. And they burn out and get tired and get frustrated because their life is being spent on this little screen. And yet, that's where we find our lives. So here is probably the first question that I would ask you to help us determine what we do in ministry and with these media bites. So the first question is, you need to determine who your audience is. Before you even begin to think about streaming and putting out any kind of content, determine who is your audience, who is the target audience, what is the age group, what is the demographic that you want to reach, because that will determine which method you use. Determining who your audience is will determine which of the methods that you use to actually reach them. Because if you don't know who your audience is, you're going to miss them. So that helps you to figure that one out. Once you determine who your audience is, the next question you must ask yourself is, where do they hang out? Where are they? So here we go. Determining who your audience is will help you decide which streaming service to use once you determine who that audience is. Determining where they hang out helps you decide which platform to use. Now let me share the difference between the two. A streaming service is YouTube. I'm sorry, a streaming service is StreamYard, Zoom, some of those things, Ecamm, vMix, some of those things. They're vehicles to help get the message there. They are just the vehicle. Zoom and YouTube is where they are. That's their highway. That's where they're sitting. Once you determine what your audience is, will determine where you want to send your message to. So here we go. If my audience is 50, 60, 70, 80, my platform is Facebook because that's where they are. They're on Facebook. If my audience is 30, 40s, 25s, my platform is YouTube because that's where they hang out. If my audience is under 20, if my audience is 20 to probably say 15, 16, the platform then is Instagram because that's where they hang out. But what if your audience is less than 15? What platform are you on? TikTok. Different platforms, different audiences. And if you're only streaming to one destination, you're really only hitting one audience. You'll pick up some others because there are other age groups who kind of they come through there and buy, but they don't stay there. They're not hanging out there. You want to get to where they're hanging out, so you want to make sure that you are streaming to the different places. And there are various methods that you can use to stream. You can use YouTube. You can use YouTube, some of your destinations. Some of the ways to do that: StreamYard, Zoom, Ecamm, vMix, OBS, even what I'm using right now, which is called Those are vehicles to help you get there. They all work pretty much. They have different bells and whistles, different things that will help you get it done. But that's what you want to do, is determine who the audience is and where they are. Once you do that, you pick the vehicle and you pick the destination. The people that have the most impact are streaming to multiple destinations. They are going to Facebook, they're going to YouTube, they're doing some things on Instagram, they're creating content for TikTok, because they want to make sure that they can reach the most people with the least amount of effort and have the biggest impact and bang for their buck. So those are just a couple of some things to do. I want to share this with you here. In any group, there are 4 types of learners. You know them: the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, the digital. They all receive information differently. They all learn differently. In any group, about 65% of that audience are visual learners. They learn by seeing. Another 20%, 25% are auditory. They learn by hearing. The last 12 to 15% is broken up between this last group of the kinesthetic. They learn by feeling, and the digital. They learn by doing, touching, and putting their hands on things. So you want to make sure that you have something for all of them. Now, in our traditional service pre-COVID, our approach was mainly auditory. It was just preach word, the spoken word. Very few visuals, except for churches that were kind of moving toward that way. But now in COVID, it's going to be very difficult to do something that is just targeted toward the auditory learner. Well, they do it. It's called a podcast. But you are doing video, so you want to make sure your visuals pop and that they're great, that people love them, they're attracted to them. You want to make sure that your content is great so that the person who learns by hearing gets it. You want to make sure also that there's emotion and feeling that is put into that, so that the person who receives it by feeling can do that, whether that's through music or soundtrack, something that's for them. And then you also want to do something for the digital person who learns by doing, whether it's by writing, create something and you have them write throughout that thing. Those are the four learners, and that is how they learn and how they receive information, and that's meaningful to them. Now, just keep talking in the chat because I can see the chat if there are things that you have there as we go along. If I'm going too fast on something, say, hey, slow down, or repeat that I didn't get that as we're doing things. But it's some very interesting things that here's one that I want you to get. When we think about ministry in the time that we are now, here's a very interesting statement. This person is talking about the prophet Isaiah, and it says that he is told to face his people while standing on his head. That's Abraham Joshua Heschel in his book, The Prophets, on page 89. He is told to face his people while standing on his head. Very interesting concept. And here's what that does. Think about it. In the room or the space where you are right now, think about what that room looks like and what you see differently if you look at the same thing, but you're standing on your head. You see it in a whole different light, a completely different point of view or perspective. And that's what we need in the 21st century, is to look at the same thing, but look at it in a different light, in a different way. Some years ago, I was in New Zealand, and we were out at night, and I was looking in the sky, and I was trying to figure out where the Big Dipper was. And I kept saying, man, where's the Big Dipper? I don't see the Big Dipper. And the person I was with, they knew stars, and they were great. They taught all of this. And they said, it's right there. You're looking at it. I said, no, that's not it, because that's backwards. The Big Dipper goes the other way. And the person said to me, oh, yeah, you're from America. You're from the Northern Hemisphere. Aha, do this for me. He said, bend your head over and look at it upside down. I said, what? He said, just bend your head over and look up. I said, there's the Big Dipper right there. He said, yeah. He said, you're now looking at it from the Southern Hemisphere, so it's reversed. Same thing, different perspective. How many people have we missed in our approach, in our ministry, in our sharing, because we only looked at it from our perspective? He was told to face his people while standing on his head. My challenge to you is change your perspective up. Get a different look at it. Look at it from a different angle, just to see how you can change and help them in that. So that's that. Here's another one that I want to share with you. Many times, we as pastors, and I do it myself, we as pastors, we look at what other people are doing and we say, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Well, let me share with you. There's only one Oakwood University Church. There's only one Mount Vernon. There's only one. There's only one of some of the other large churches. And oftentimes we look at them and we see that. I do a lot of consulting with people in churches and pastors, and they say, man, I want to do what so-and-so did. And I said, oh, wow, do you? Okay, that's possible. Here's the major difference. It's one word: resources. Do you have the financial resources? Do you have the human resources? Resources. Only difference. Take a look at this. You will enjoy this. Now, that was fascinating. Everybody has their camera off, so I can't see any expressions on any faces or anything. But but here is a guy. That's Pastor Mike Todd out in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
The audio was out. We couldn't hear.
There's no
Oh, okay,
sound.
yeah, okay, thank you. Um, that was out there, and and my point was not necessarily what he was saying because it I chopped it up was for the visual. Um, was that here's a guy who was teaching about Jesus being in the boat with the disciples when the storm came up. He flooded his stage with water. He made it rain on the pulpit. He had a boat on his stage. He had graphics behind him and sound. Fascinating. But do you have the resources in your local church to do that? The point is, it's great to see what other people are doing. But ministry is defined by the context, by your local context. What are the resources that you have on hand to get things done? It would be great to make it rain on your stage and to flood it and it becomes a lake on the stage. But oh my goodness, how much did it cost to actually do that in their sanctuary? Resources is one of the things that I wanted us to get through. I'm looking through to see. I'm trying to see questions here. Yeah, I know there was no sound. Thank you. Um, yeah, that was awesome. When I first saw it, it blew me away, and I said, man, if I could be like that. The problem is, do you have the money to be like that? Do you have the personnel and the staff to be like that? So the goal is to help each of us so that we can do ministry in a way where it fits our wallet or our church budget and it fits the local personnel, staff, volunteers that we have. Now, I know most churches have a media team of one. There's one person who's trying to do it all. They're trying to get it all done. That one person is doing everything, and they are there, and they probably look like this guy right here, who's trying to get it all done all by himself. And I wonder how many of us have had a media person who has done that. You may not have seen it, but they're exhausted, they're worn out, they're frustrated, they're tired, they're burned out because the demand is all on them to get it done, and it's just one person. It's even more so when the one person is the pastor, or when the one person is you, and the pastor says, "Here's all the things we want to get done," and now you're left to try to figure out those things, and so it makes it feel as if it is an all uphill battle. Well, today I want to give you some helpful resources that will kind of take you through some things of what you can do and how to get it done. So here's one of the questions I'll have from. Okay, we'll take this question. This is from. I'm trying to read F. I can't pronounce your name. A guy, I believe, is the last name, and they are asking what platform am I using? Currently, right now, the one that I am using right now, as you see me manipulating and moving around, it's called mmhmm.app. And it works with inside of any platform that you want to use it with. So the platform for that you all are presently using is Zoom. But on the back end, I'm using Ooh, that's hard to do. MH gives you a virtual camera. And so what it does is it takes whatever camera you feed in to it, and then you can do whatever your presentation is behind it. So I actually have several cameras here this morning that are still within that one platform that I can use in MH. It's a very nice platform. It's very easy to use. It's web based. Um, it's subscription based. It's about $10 a month or $100 for the year. Um, and it allows you to be able it allows you to be able to share whatever you have on your screen with your audience. Create your presentations, create all of your slides. You can manipulate yourself around. As you can see, I'm able to move myself there. I can, enlarge it. I can fade myself in and out in a circle. As you see that, if you're in the circle, it has a thing called track me, so that no matter where I'm moving, it's still following me as I go. Um, so this one I really, really like. It has something that's called rooms, and the rooms are simply, other people would just call them your backgrounds, and where they are virtual backgrounds that you as the presenter can place yourself in to do whatever it is that you're going to do. And so that's one of the things with that you can do, and you can use the backgrounds that they have, or you can add your own backgrounds or rooms so that you can place yourself just about wherever you want to be, depending on what it is that you're talking about. So is very good. It's very useful for presentations because now you don't have to ask the host to allow you to share your screen. As with StreamYard or Zoom or Ecamm, if you're the presenter, you have to ask permission to share your screen if you have a presentation or anything else that you're trying to do. And I'm able to just put all of that together myself, and it is the camera that I'm sending out to share whatever it is that needs to be shared with that one. So I don't know if that helped, but yes, that is the app. Here's one from Corinda. When playing music in the room where you are, what settings should you adjust your audio to optimize sound quality, like a singer playing a soundtrack in their home as they sing live on Zoom? Oh, okay, very, very, very good question. I'm glad you asked it because that's a very important question. So you have someone that's on your platform and you're asking them to sing. If you're using Zoom, go to your settings, and in Zoom, there's one that says use original audio. You want to make sure you click original audio, because Zoom will Zoom by Zoom in its natural native state is going to just kind of create the best sound that it thinks it can, and it's doing that to take out stereo. It's doing that to take out echo and some other things. But when you're doing music and you have someone singing live, you want to use original audio, original sound in Zoom. If you're in another platform, say you're in StreamYard, you want to do several things. One, you want to click so that you're using stereo. The other is you want to take off echo cancellation. Now, let me share this with you. In any platform that you're using, if you're going to have guests and there's going to be you speaking and someone else talking on that show with you that you will hear through your headphones and they'll hear you through their speaker, you want to make sure that everyone has on headphones. I have in-ears on right now that I'm using, but you want to make sure that everyone has on some kind of headphone in their thing. And I'm looking, my key is off because you can see the dark behind me. But you want to make sure that everyone has on headphones. Here's the reason why. Anything that comes through your speaker and hits your microphone, it's going to loop over and over and over, and it's going to create echo. So they put on headphones or earplugs. It takes out that loop because the microphone doesn't hear the audio that's coming through the speaker. If you don't have it, you want to leave that echo cancellation on. The downside to that is that it uses the resources of your computer to block out all exterior or ambient noises, which means that your computer processor is working much harder. Your fan probably stays on all the time, and it makes your computer work a lot harder. So I always tell people, get a pair of earplugs, put on your Beats, put in your AirPods, put in whatever you want to use so that you can get rid of that, to do that. For the person that is singing, just make sure that they have their speaker from that soundtrack as close to the mic as they can get it so that you will get a good sound for them. I'm reading here from Angela. I like that you can adjust the size of the body to proper proportions of the frame. Yes, and that's one of the great things with Angela, is that you can't adjust it to fit it. A lot of times, for instance, in Zoom, they have virtual backgrounds, but the proportion is way off. So you are standing in front of a 52-story building, and you're as tall as the building. So the proportions are way off. But you're able to scale down and create the proportions that you have. Angela is also saying that it doesn't appear to have the disappearing factor seen with Zoom backgrounds. Yes. This is from Listra. I hope I pronounced that right. How safe is Zoom? Because some members are still afraid to join the platform. Okay. Zoom is as safe as the security measures that you have put in place to protect it. So in Zoom, one of the things that you want to do, you want to go into Zoom and go into your preferences. You want to create things. Number one, create your waiting room so that no one can come into your Zoom meeting that you have not let in. So that's the first one that you want to put in. When the pandemic hit and Zoom came to the forefront, everybody was using it. There was a lot of Zoom bombing that took place because people would put out their room number and their passcode, and people would come in and they just did whatever they wanted to do inside of someone else's meeting. So you want to make sure, one, that you have enabled the waiting room. Two, you want to disable screen sharing from anyone except for the host, so that no one in your meeting can just decide, hey, I'm going to show this great picture or this funny video, and I'm just going to crack a joke and everybody sees it. Disable screen sharing so that no one can share their screen without the permission of the host. The host can enable screen sharing for an individual who needs to share it, and it's turned off for that. So you want to do those two things. The other one, and probably one of the most important ones, is that if you're going to do a Zoom meeting, that you do not use your personal room code. Always create or schedule a meeting where you can have a separate code. You don't want to use your personal room code. If you give out that code, no matter what settings you have, a person is in the meeting. You have given them the key to your house and the alarm code, and you left the door open. They're just walking in. They don't need a key. They don't need an alarm code. They're just walking right in. Um, so you want to do those. One of the others that I often suggest that helps with making Zoom secure is if you post the room number, unless you know the individuals that you're giving it to, don't give the passcode with it. So if you're having a church meeting and you're going to do it on Zoom, don't you want to put the room number so they can find you, but don't put the passcode there. Don't post your passcode on social media to any room. You've given them the key and the alarm to your house. They're coming in. So post the room number so they can get there, and then create a waiting room. One of the things that I often do is when I create the waiting room is I do not allow anyone into the Zoom meeting that does not have their camera on. Because with the waiting room, if it's a name that you don't recognize or a number you don't recognize, you don't know who it is. So I make sure that everyone has to have their camera on to get into the meeting, which is another thing that you can do to make sure that Zoom is secure. One other for Zoom is in using Zoom as the host, you want to mute all mics. Mute everyone's mic. The last thing you want, and we have all seen it take place, is, you're in the middle of something and somebody starts clanging pots and pans and doing all kind of crazy stuff in the background. So you want to make sure that you do that. Someone is asking, so we have to control the sound via Zoom, not the singer. So we have to control the sound via Zoom, not the singer. Yes, just in your settings, you just turn on original sound, and that is for everything that is going to be in that meeting for them. Is to control that particular thing. It's on the host side. You do it one time in your settings, and it's for any and every Zoom meeting that you have that will do that. That will work. I was looking here. I want to show you not the 3 takeaways. I want to talk just a minute here about, let me make that full screen, talk about church brand. Let's talk about your church brand. What makes your church brand? So the first thing is culture. Culture is who you are. It is what you do. That's culture. Reputation is how you do what you do. And promise is simply that. Did you do what you said you were going to do? That creates your church brand. Your church brand is made up of those 3 things: of your culture, of your reputation, and of your promise. Of your culture. Who are you? Why are you doing what you do? That's your culture. Your reputation is built upon how you do what you do. Is it professional? Does it look good? Is it shoddy? Is your post going up 2 minutes before the program starts? Hey, want to let you know that we're starting our program, and it started 5 minutes ago. They're like, this is the first one you're telling us that? I'm sure you didn't plan this 2 minutes ago. You've been planning it for weeks. That is all a part of your reputation and your promise. If you said it was going to be an hour, make sure that it's an hour. If you told them to come by the church to get fruits and vegetables, make sure that you have fruits and vegetables and that you just don't have smoothies and desserts. That all creates a church brand. You want to protect your church brand because people are very attached to brands. I want you to think about that. People are very attached to brands. If you don't believe it, ask a person what kind of phone they have and watch the fireworks that take place. Because they are attached to brands. Ask them if they're a Mac or a PC And whoa, who uses it? What? If you ask me if I'm a Mac or a PC, I'm going to ask you, what's a PC? Because people are attached to brands. And it's based on the culture, the reputation, and the promise. That same thing happens with church. And one of the things that is happening now and people are realizing is that the church brand has been damaged. And so now people are really trying to repair that in the eyes of the community and to get things going. So that's one that we want to make sure that we can help with. Here's Angela. I've noticed on the Zoom prompt stating, host is requesting you to unmute, okay? Are you aware of an option where the attendees have to ask the host to be unmuted to avoid the sound disruptions? Yes. So, if you're doing a Zoom meeting and you've muted everyone, if a person goes to unmute their mic to speak, it will say, your mic is muted or something on their end. No one else sees that, but the host will see a icon that says Angela is requesting to speak, and you can unmute their mic for them. I'm hope that that's answering that question, Angela. I'm not sure if that's actually what you were asking or not. If not, let me know, and I'll come back to that one. But I think that's what you're asking. I wasn't quite sure if it was or not. I want to share with you. We talked about for the 3 essentials. Somebody tell me what the 3 essentials are really quick. Tell me what the 3 essentials are, and whichever one you pick, that's the one I'll start with. The 3 essentials for streaming. What did you all have? 3 essentials for streaming. Okay, somebody said lighting. Someone said audio. Okay, so who was first? Janine was first. She said lighting. So we'll start with lighting. So you're streaming. You want to have good lighting. You want to have good lighting. I'll show you this one here. Here is, let's get that on a different, turn off the slide. Let's hold on a moment here. Let me fix that so that you can actually, oh boy. I have to figure out here so that it doesn't take it all away, how to set you up to do that. Let me get this straight here. I did this morning and now it does not want to function. But then again, isn't that the way life usually is? That when you have things, they don't want to go the way you want them to go. So I'll do this here. Okay, there we go. Let's see. All right, there we go. We'll do it this way. So this is one of the lights that I have. It is by Lume Cube, LUMECUBE, Lume Cube. And it's just a LED light that, I'm going to take it off so that it doesn't blast you in the eye, that you can use. Let's turn it down. Okay, so right there, that's at 1%. I turned it, it was like at 75%. I turned it down. That's at 1%. And you will use it on your computer. They come with, you can put it on a little mini tripod, or it comes with a suction cup that you can use to put on the back of your computer, mounted on the back, light goes on the top to use. And it puts light directly in your face. Lume Cube is very good. It's very good to use, and it is about, Lume Cube is about $70 for the Lume Cube. It's about $70 for the Lume Cube. Very good way to do lighting. That's one way. to do lighting. Um, let's reach behind me here, and I'll show you this one here. Um, you've seen the rooms that have, or you've seen the spaces that have color behind them. The wall is gray, or you have a white wall and it makes the blue hue or orange or green, whatever hue you want. This is just a 25-watt LED light. They are excellent in terms of creating that studio look that you want with lighting behind you to accent some things. They're about $15 a piece. I bought this set of 4 for $60. Very good little light that you can use, and I really like that light that's there. One of the other ways that you can do it, there is a company. This is probably the company that is really taking over now. A great video maker. It's a larger light that has barn doors on it, so that you can adjust the light and direct the light to where you want it to go. If I can get the doors open there, and it's LED. This light, as well as the Lume Cube, they're bi-color. What do I mean by bi-color? Bi-color is you can adjust the color temperature so that it is warmer or cooler, so that it gives you that orange yellow glow of like a nice warm light, or it gives you just a nice crisp white light. Color temperature, you can adjust the intensity of the brightness on those as well. And the great video maker light, they're about $90 a piece. There are some smaller ones, but lighting is the key to any video that you want. So that was one. Someone said lighting. Someone else said sound.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Question, please.
Yes.
Can you put on the chat room the name of those gadgets?
Yes, I will. Yes.
Please, thank you.
Yes, I will. I will. So you want to have great audio. And my microphone, oh, here, great audio. So here is one of the ways that you can do that. And it is the Rode NT USB mic. It's a great little mic. It's fantastic little small mic. It's USB mic, so it works well with any computer. They're about $90, $100. So you want to have great audio for your stream that you're using. Someone else put in here, yes. Yes, I'm glad you shared that, Neville, and that is good internet. So here is what I've always shared for any stream, is to hardwire. Don't try to do your stream on Wi-Fi unless you just have extremely great internet service that is very reliable and you have a fast connection speed. I want you to hardwire so that you don't have the buffering and so that it doesn't just go out. There are places and times when you can't get to a hard wire because you're in one room and there is no place to. Let me find, so that make sure that we are on the same page when I say hardwire. Hardwire is, I want you to use a Ethernet cable to plug into your computer from the wall, hardwire. But there are places and times where you can't hardwire because the room that you're in does not have a Ethernet connection. So I have a solution for you, and it is called a Netgear Ethernet adapter. They come in pairs. One plugs into the wall. It has to plug into the wall and not into a power strip or surge protector. It has to go directly into the wall. um, and it goes into the wall. You come out of your router into this end. On the other end, in the room where you are, you take the other one and you plug it into the wall, your cable in the bottom of it, and into your computer, and it gives you a hard-wired connection. It gives you a hard-wired connection. This is, someone's helping me out, this is the Netgear Powerline Ethernet adapter is what it's called. They're about $50. What it does is it uses the electrical lines in your house to transmit your internet signal. It uses existing wiring in your house to transmit the signal. That's one way to get a hard wire in a situation where you don't have one. I use these all the time. They're very reliable for places where I am, where I need to have a hard wire. When the pandemic first hit, I set my office up in the garage so that I could see out because we were sheltering in place, so we didn't see anything or anyone. And so I had to see somebody. I had to see the birds. I had to see the trees. I needed to see the sun, so I was in the garage. But my internet did not reach, my Wi-Fi did not reach the garage very well, so I used one of the adapters there to give me a hard wire in the garage. But you want to have great internet. I can't stress that more. You want to have great internet. You want to have great video. You want to have great audio for your stream. This is Lister. Can you talk a little bit about breakout classes, and can two different programs be on the same time on Zoom? One in a breakout room and one in the main room. Yes, you can. So when you have your main session, and you've taken your group and you've broken them up into breakout groups, and you put them in breakout rooms. Let's say that you had 50 people, and you had 4 breakout sessions, and you put 10 people in each breakout session. You still have 10 people left that are not in a breakout session. They will remain in the main room. So you can have something in the main room by not assigning them to a breakout room. Now, you would have to do your breakout rooms manually. If you do it automatically, where Zoom arbitrarily picks and puts people in whatever room, it's going to take all 50 people and put them in the 5 rooms. But if you manually put them in separate rooms and then don't leave some and don't put some in a room, they will be in the main session. So in essence, you could have breakout rooms and a main room still going on at the same time. How do the lights compare with the LEDs? Excuse me? How do ring lights compare with the LED options that you share? Okay, all LED lights are pretty good. They work on the same principle of brightness. The ring light is one big ring that sits in front of you that shines directly at you. It puts out light. They compare based on the brightness of the light. So you can look to see how many lumens or amplification that particular light puts out. Some of them put out very little light. Some put out massive amounts of light. Of the ring lights that I've seen, let's see, this is at, I'm going to turn this up to, so I'll put it on me here. So that is, turn it down. So that's at 1% right now, at 5600 Kelvin. That's almost daylight. We are going here, and that probably is that's at 100%. I have not found a ring light that is at 100% and at 5600 Kelvin that's as bright as this. So the ring lights are great. You just have to adjust them so that you don't see that big ring in your glasses or in the middle of your eyeball. And with all lighting, you want to have it, at 45-degree angles above your head and coming down at you, and that will create the glare across your, take out the glare across your glasses, and that big ring light. But ring lights are great. They're inexpensive. They're easy to use. They're great if you have a one camera setup, and you want something quick and easy and fast, and that's within your budget. So I guess the best way to answer that question is it all depends upon your budget. Do you have $20 to spend on a light, or do you have $100 to spend on a light? Do you have $50 to spend on a light, or do you have $1,000 to spend on a light? So it depends upon the resources that you have, because you can do great things with a $20 light, just like you can do great things with a $100 light. You may have to move it closer to you so that it's bright enough, but it will work, and you can get it done. She's asked, I guess she's asking Janine, will this recording be made available? This is my good friend, Dr. Martin. I would suggest you email a list of all. Yes. So I'll give my email address here. I'm gonna put my email address in the chat of what I normally do here. And you can just email me for things that you would like to have. If there's a list of the devices that I shared, I was going to send you the list that I have, but I have not updated it in the last day or so. So I want to make sure you have all the latest things that I'm sharing today. But if you email me, say, hey, would you send me, the gear list, or send me the streaming checklist, I'll send you those. One of the things that you want to do before every stream is you want to create you want to have a streaming checklist. You want to have a checklist of things that you work your way through before you start that stream. If you've ever gotten on a plane in the days when the cockpit door was still open, you could see the pilot and the co-pilot working down their checklist before they close the doors to take off. You want to do the same thing with your streams. You want to have a checklist of all the things you need to do to make sure. Mine is pretty extensive, but one of the first things that I do is I reboot my computer. That's one of the first things I do. The second thing I do is I run a speed test. I want to know how fast my internet is working at that time. I hardwire, and you just kind of work your way through the list before you start. The next to the last thing on my list is that depending on the platform that you use, I hit go live or broadcast. The last thing you want to do is have a great show lined up, have all your guests lined up, let that show start, and you did not make it live. Some things we learned by mistake. And so I had started the show once, and we had gone in about a minute, and I realized, and I always go and check on a separate device to make sure that it's going out. And it wasn't. It still says waiting to begin. I realized I had not hit the broadcast button to begin with. So creating that checklist will help you with many things so that you are not running into some of those embarrassing moments. Yvonne is asking, there is now another option for breakout rooms where participants can. Yes, that is true. That is true, Yvonne. You can do that. Angela, how much time do you allot for setup? Elaborate on that. If Angela's there, Janine, can you unmute her mic, or Angela unmute your mic? So a service starts at 11. Oh, yes, okay. So in the virtual world, I ask every participant that is on that program to be there 30 minutes in the studio, 30 minutes before the program starts. We have a a huge program that's coming up here at our church. I'm starting this week with guest speakers and singers and other people that are there. And everyone has to be there 30 minutes prior to the service. In the virtual world, one of the other things that I do is anyone that is going to be on the show, on the broadcast, is that I run a test with them through the week. I want to see your lighting. I want to see your setup. I want to see, make sure that your background. I want to see, I want to hear your audio. I want to see your lighting. Because the last thing I want is for you to be on the show and you have this huge tree growing out the back of your head. I want to make sure that that is not something that is going to happen while you're on the show, that you're on the show and then there's this huge tree that has just suddenly sprung up and it's coming out the back of your head. And now we both look very bad there. But I always ask them to come on a half an hour before so that we can do final checks on those things. We can go through the entire run sheet for that program. We can share last minute expectations and we can have prayer together so that we're all in place, because you don't want to be in the middle of the show wondering, I wonder when brother so-and-so is coming on. Hey, can somebody call him? And you don't want that to happen. So 30 minutes before is what I always ask. Mr. Leon, you recommend the mic. Could you please repeat the motto, please? Oh, so the one that I talked about was the Rode NT USB. Rode, R-O-D-E-N-T USB. Rode makes great mics. Blue makes great mics. There's the Blue Yeti. The Blue Yeti is a great mic, and it's about $100. There is the Blue Spark. I'm using the Blue Spark, and the Blue Spark is about $199. The SL is about $199. The other great manufacturers in that field are Shure, S-H-U-R-E. They have the MV7. The MV7 is about $200. The Rolls Royce in that series is the Shure SM7B, and it's about $400. That is the one that most people have moved toward because they have the resources to be able to do that. So I'm reading answers question. In terms of testing, to be sure all the elements are on the checklist is covered. What time would you start? Okay, so Angela is saying, in terms of testing equipment, to be sure all elements on your checklist is covered, what time would you start preparing? So this began at 2 o'clock Eastern time. I'm on the West Coast, so that was 11 o'clock my time. 11 o'clock my time. I was in place going through all of my paces at 8 o'clock this morning. So I was 3 hours before the show began going through my paces to make sure that I had everything in place, prepared, and ready to go. Everyone's not me. You may not have the 3 hour time slot to do that, but the key that Angela is saying is true. You want to make sure that you have prep time, that your show is not at 11 o'clock and you're coming on at 10:55 and trying to be ready to go. Because if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Something is going to happen, and it's better that it happens 30 minutes before the show rather than 2 minutes before the show, to give yourself some time to fix it and to work it out and to get some things going. I want to, we did church brand. I want you to see, this is one of my favorite, this is one of my favorite statements of all time. Enfeebled and defective as it may be, the church is one object upon which God bestows, in a special sense, his supreme grace. It is the theater of his grace in which he delights to reveal his power to transform hearts. the church is the theater of His grace. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is it that people are seeing and experiencing while they are there with us in the theater of His grace? I want to show you a couple of other things here that will help you. As we talked about it, and I shared with you that I have a multi-camera setup that I'm going between. I wanted you to see how that is actually happening. If I can get this down here far enough. It is, let me switch that where, see, this is one of the things that I missed this morning, Angela. I did not do this. I am using the ATEM Mini Pro. The ATEM is by Blackmagic. It is a switcher that Blackmagic makes. The ATEM Mini Pro is a switcher and an encoder. So with this one device, not only am I able to switch between my cameras, but I can also send out a signal directly and stream from it without a computer, because it has an encoder that's built into it. The ATEM Mini Pro. ATEM makes a couple of different models in their product line. They have the ATEM Mini. It's $299. It gives you 4 inputs. You can bring in 4 cameras, and it gives you an output so you can see the multi-view of, of all of your cameras. The ATEM Mini is $299. The ATEM Mini Pro is the same, except it allows you to stream directly from it, and it is $599. Just this week, they released the ATEM Mini Pro Extreme, and the Extreme gives you, instead of 4 inputs, the Extreme gives you 8 inputs to use. But the ATEMs are great devices to use. I really like this one because it enables me to do some of those things. This is, in a small footprint, the same large switcher that we have in our booth at the church, in a small footprint. This is the switcher that we use when we are doing our outdoor service and anything that's mobile, because it's small, it's easy to take up and to pick up and move that you're going with. The other that I needed to make sure, yes, it's by Blackmagic. Yeah, the other that I want to make sure that you knew is, if you are using a microphone that is not a USB microphone, but that is an XLR microphone. This is an XLR microphone that takes a microphone cable. If you're using an XLR microphone, you will have to have an audio interface that allows you to take that analog signal and make it a digital signal. So if you're using the Blue Spark or the Shure SM7 or the Shure SM7B, they're XLR mics, and so you will need to have an audio interface. I will show you an audio. This is just one audio interface. It is a Focusrite. It has 2 XLR inputs, this one does, and it has the digital output that goes USB into your computer. That's one of them. The Focusrite, there's the Focusrite Solo, Focusrite Scarlett Solo. It's about $109. It has 1 input. The Focusrite 2 has 2 inputs, and it's about $149. And they have one that's 4 inputs. That's about $249. So it just depends upon how many mics that you are trying to bring in. So if you're doing a video podcast and you have 4 hosts and you're bringing in 4 microphones, then you want to use the Focusrite that has 4 XLR inputs into it. The one that I like this one. It has 2 because I have one where I plug in my mic, and I have another one where I plug in my music to bring music into as well. So the Focusrite works well. But you may already have some devices that you can use. You may have, for instance, let's turn it this way. You may have a Zoom recorder, whether it is the Zoom H6 or the Zoom H8. They both have, audio interfaces built into them. So if you already have a handheld recorder like the Tascam, like the Zoom or the Tascam, they will already have a audio interface built into it, so you can use that without having to go out and purchase another piece of equipment to use to get that done. But you want to make sure that you have an audio interface so that you can get that analog signal into your computer, because you're going from analog to digital, and it simply converts it to do that. So that is that one. So before I move to something else, I'm just looking through to see if there are any other questions. I will show you this. This is probably one of the best finds that we have found in a long time. If you have a camera, let's say that you have your DSLR or you have your large video camera, and let's say that you have your DSLR or you have your large video camera, and you're trying to get that into your computer. The camera has HDMI output, and you will need to get it into your computer. The computers that have HDMI, they are outputs. So if you're looking at your laptop, well, laptops usually don't have HDMIs. Some of them do, but it's an output. If you're a tower, it's an output. You're trying to get it in, so you need to have a capture device, which is what this is. It is an HDMI, and it actually says on there so that you're not mistaken when you're using it. It actually says input on it. So it's HDMI in, USB out. So you would plug your camera in this end and the other end into the computer, and that would allow your camera to come directly into the computer. So we talked about video this morning for various things for your computer and how to do some things for your stream. So if you have a large video camera, you can do that. If you have a DSLR that has a clean output, a clean HDMI output. A clean output is one that does not show all of the words around the screen and around the graphic. It doesn't show that you're recording now. It doesn't show what the f-stop is and some of the other things. It's just a crisp, clean picture. You can use your DSLR to do that as well. For the geeks who are doing some shows and are tired of looking down at their computer to do some things, or want to do some things where they can do shortcuts, this is called the Stream Deck. Stream Deck by Elgato. Stream Deck is about $150. I'm sorry, it's $149.99. Advertisers and marketers have determined that the 99 makes us a difference because it doesn't seem like we're spending $150 when you really are. It's the Stream Deck, and it has hotkeys that you can create. One of the hotkeys that I've made here is for audio. So my audio, and I can turn my audio on and off. I can take it and turn the camera on and off. Just various hotkeys that are there created within it to do some things so that you can switch between cameras to turn it on and off, turn your audio on and off. If you are sharing a screen and you have PowerPoint, I have where I can advance a slide. We go back a slide or advance a slide. The same thing for Keynote. Just various things that are built into there that you can use in your presentations that work very well to help it so that you have a smooth, seamless transition and that it is very professional. Here is whether we like it or not. The Whether we like it or not, anything that you produce and that you put online, you are up against the Oakwoods, the Mount Vernons, the Mike Todds, and everybody else. So with the limited budget that you may have, the few personnel that you may have, you want to make sure that you are creating the best product, producing the best show that you can. You want to make sure that your content no one is going to say, no one is going to say, yes, I know Oakwood College Church has $1 million in audio, video, and the large screen behind them. They're just going to say, why aren't we doing that? Why don't we look like them? No one's going to say that I know that Mike Todd out in Oklahoma, who flooded his stage with water and thunder and lightning and raining, has millions of dollars of equipment and 40 people on staff to make that happen. They're not going to say that. So we have to do the best that we can with what we have. So it's simply just taking what you have and using it to the best of your ability, doing the very best you can with it, and God blesses it, because once you place it in His hand, He does miraculous things with a willing heart and with a person who's doing the very best they can with what they have. Now, just because God is going to bless it, just because the Holy Spirit is going to shower it with His presence, does not mean that you don't practice, that you don't prepare, and that you don't produce. We have to do our part. He will come in and pick up the slack, but we have to do our part. Now, here's one more. Can you tell us about copyrights and the licenses for song? Yes, the company is CCLI. CCLI is where you want to go to get your license for music, and CCLI has a component that's VCLI that's there on the same site where you can get your license for video. So you want to make sure that you can do those things. Make sure you have them. Make sure you have them. Now, let me say this, having your license does not mean that YouTube is not going to flag your music. Having your license does not mean that Facebook is going to stop your stream. Having your license says that when they flag it, you dispute it, you can say, I have the license from CCLI, here's my license number, and I have the license to share this during my stream, and they will put your stream, they will put it back up in your archive so that you can do that. Angela's saying, how many monitors, computers would you recommend? Well, if you're going to do any kind of screen sharing, then you want to have 2 monitors. I have 3 monitors in front of me. I have 2 27-inch monitors and the one 13-inch monitor on my laptop, so that you can move things around and be able to do things at the same time and not have to worry about trying to squeeze it all on one screen. I'm able to see the Zoom chat as well as manipulate my on a different screen, as well as see the 3 cameras that I have set up on a different screen. But you want to have at least 2 screens to give yourself the flexibility to do some other things. So here's, what do you use for text alerts and bulletins announcements? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. There is a service called Flock Note, FLOCKNOTE, Flock Note. Excellent service. It allows you to text, email, mass numbers. It is subscription based. I use Flocknote all the time for our church. And we send out our emails, our text to people, and we send out our newsletter. One of the things that I really like about Flocknote is that when I send out a Flocknote, and I usually do it through a email, it will say you have 895 members who receive this by email. You have 300 members who receive it by text. Do you want them to receive it by text? Because when they signed up, they only gave their cell phone number. They didn't give an email address. So I'm still able to send that same message to both of them, to those that receive it by email and those that receive it by text. There's another great feature there, and that there are times that it will say you have 895 people that receive it by email, 300 that receive it by text, and you have 110 who will receive it by voice. Do you want that to happen? Because there are people who did not put in an email address or a cell phone number. They put their landline in. And so what it will do is, if I send it to you by email or text, you have the digital copy of it. For that person who only put in their landline, it calls them and it reads that entire message to them. It's a great service, so I'm able to reach all the areas and demographics of the church with one message, one source, one place that will go to all of them. The best way to use Flocknote, here we go, I hope you're ready, here we go. If you have 40 members or less, 40 people or less, it's free. So regardless of whatever size your church is, start off with the free plan and allow people to sign up. When you get to the 41st person, it begins to charge you. And so I think at $45, at 41 people, it's less than $10 a month. And it goes from 41, I think the next mark is 201 is where your next mark will be. And then it goes up then from 201, it goes in increments of about 200. So just as a frame of reference, and that's the way that we did it here. We have 2,300 members, and they said put all 2,300 members in, and said no, we're gonna let it grow organically. So we started off for free, and now I think we have about 1,300 members who have opted in. And it's about $79 a month. If I put all 2,300 in, it's $99 a month. I think in the area of around 200 members, I think it's probably like $25, $30 a month. Very reasonable, very good source to use for that. And it works, it's very easy to use, it's very user-friendly. They probably have the best customer service around. You pre-pandemic, you could pick up the phone and call them, and someone answered the phone and would help you. During the pandemic, they went to appointments, and your appointment may be a day out. But they had a thing where you could email them, is what I used. I can email them at help.flocknote.com, give them my question, and they have responded within 10 to 15 minutes. Not just with an answer, but with a video screen that they recorded to show step by step how to go through it. They have probably the best customer service that I've found of a company that works with churches. And that's what it was designed for. Flock, as in your flock, your sheep to your church. So that is Flocknote. Let me tell you about some other things that nonprofits can receive. Canva. I don't know if anyone uses Canva, but if you haven't heard of Canva, you want to begin using Canva. Canva is the greatest thing. Canva is what I use to create this presentation in. Because you are a nonprofit, you can go to Canva, you can sign up under their nonprofit program, receive their premium, Canva premium for free because you're nonprofit. So that's one, that's canva.com. The other one is Grammarly. Grammarly is for to help you with any of your writing. If you're sending out emails, if you're sending out text, if you're doing updates, anything that you're sending out that has any kind of text in it, Grammarly goes through it for grammar. It goes through it for spell checking. It goes through it for tone, tenor. It takes all of those things in that you can do. And as a nonprofit, you can get the premium package for free for them. I've shared a lot of things for equipment. One of probably the industry standard is right there in your backyard, and it is B&H. It's right there in Manhattan. It's the industry standard for equipment and prices. B&H has a program for houses of worship. That gives great discounts because you are a house of worship. I will give you an example. A few weeks ago, I went to purchase some new digital mics. The receiver for that ordinarily was $5,000. Through the house of worship, it was $4,200. So you want to check out B&H for their houses of worship to do that for those. So Grammarly, Canva, and B&H are great sources that you can use for your church to be able to save some things that you really want to do. I thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful to you. Ms. Janine told me that she had a specific time. I want to make sure that we honored that time. You have my email address. Please feel free at any time to just send me an email, send me a text, and I will be able to help you. I do consulting. If you need to set up a studio or you need to get some things done for your church, we can work those out to make sure that we can help you do those things as well. But thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great and wonderful day.
Thank you so much, BT. This was awesome. And I know that all of these tools, this presentation was recorded, so I will definitely send it out and we'll get it posted to our NEC YouTube channel. But I know it was very, very beneficial because there's a lot of equipment that's out there. And it's not even large equipment. It's things that can fit into a backpack, things that can fit into a small carrier, and everything is useful for our churches for today. We are grateful to you, BT, for everything you've done, and please reach out to him. He's very, very friendly, very easy to access. You can find him on Facebook and everything like that. Send a message. And again, if you ever need his services, he is there for you. So we appreciate it. Thank you all for your time, and we look forward to the next time when we will be able to meet together. And we hope that you use these resources because they're great to have and great to take advantage of. So please, again, if you need anything, you can reach out to BT if you need any reiteration of the equipment that he listed or any help in general. He is always available. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time.